I was with Jiang Beiji for 6 years. But he never married me. I was cornered in an alley by a robber and called him. She's just my assistant. In a foreign country like this, it's dangerous to suspect that someone is following her. You've been suffocating me all these years. Fine. I'll marry you as soon as we get back. He hung up on me, and I was found dead. My throat slit. At the corner of an alley in a foreign country. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back 6 years in the past. This time, I don't want to marry him anymore. Yu Xiaowei. I love you. You said that if I won this competition, you'd be with me. I saw Jiang Beiji, a 19-year-old sitting on a motorcycle, making a sincere and passionate confession to me. At 19, he was brash and roguish, with a face that could charm anyone. When those almond-shaped eyes gaze at someone with such tenderness, it's enough to make anyone drown in them. The scorching summer sun was so intense that tears welled up in my eyes as I stared at him in a daze. I've been reborn 6 years in the past. I can't remember the last time I saw him look at me with such a passionate gaze, filled with such deep love. What I remember most is his cold, distant gaze, telling me, stop messing around. We made a bet about this race. I said that if he could beat me on this track, I'd be with him. In order to win that race, he took the risk of accelerating through a deadly curve, narrowly escaping death. He won the championship, and I rushed over to hug him, tears streaming down my face. Right there in front of everyone, he kissed me. After that, we began a 6-year-long entanglement. When he loved me, he would put me on a pedestal. If someone were to say to me, "You were born but not raised," I'd rip every last one of their teeth out. Racing is my hobby. Even though he's crashed a few times, he keeps practicing over and over again, just so he can strike up a conversation with me. Just because I coughed after being exposed to secondhand smoke once, he quit smoking, and he doesn't let anyone smoke whenever I'm around. Everyone around him says they've never seen him love anyone this much. The title of Mrs. Jiang is mine and mine alone. I used to think I could really spend the rest of my life with him, until he left me lying dead in the street for another woman. The relationship started to go sour in its 5th year. He started staying out late at night. A faint smell of smoke was lingering on him again. He put his arm around me and said, "Xiaowei, when men are out on business, smoking and drinking are inevitable." The scent of perfume that wafted from her was also an essential part of the act. I told him that when our families brought up the topic of marriage, the look in his eyes always had a certain indescribable quality to it. It's as if I'm pressuring him to get married. Whenever I bring up breaking up, he'll come over with gifts to try to win me back. With the exhaustion of a sleepless night, he would tell me how much he loved me and how much he couldn't live without me. It's just that getting married is still too soon for him. He wants to wait a little longer, until the company he runs has reached the next level. 5 years of being together, and all the kindness he'd shown me came flooding back to me, so I gave in. But what I ended up seeing was that he had fallen for another woman, Su Mengyuan. Su Mengyuan is his assistant. He saved her at the bar to pay off his gambling debts. Her father sold her to a 50-year-old man for 100,000 yuan. She said she would work as an assistant at his company for 2 years to pay back the 100,000 yuan. At first, he looked down on her for not knowing anything. But then he started working overtime for her sake and personally mentored her. Jiang Beiji took her on a business trip to Country M, but didn't tell me. It happened when I was attending a dinner for the race sponsors. I watched as he took her to a social event. And then a man at the party started making advances towards Su Mengyuan. He raised his fist at the man, pinned him to the ground, and beat him mercilessly, landing blow after blow. He held her close and reassured her, telling her not to be afraid, that everything would be all right, and that he was there for her. Su Mengyuan collapsed into his arms and asked him, her voice choked with tears, if he would protect her for the rest of her life. Jiang Bei didn't answer. He saw me standing at the other end of the hallway. I clenched my teeth, and the taste of blood from my throat seemed to fill my mouth. My heart was aching terribly. I never realized he could get so angry and so fierce over another woman. Actually, He probably felt something special about her right from the start. After all, Jiang Beiji has never been a kind-hearted person, with the appearance of a bodhisattva, but the methods of Asura. He is the kind of person who can string prayer beads while calmly snapping a person's knuckles one by one. I turned and walked away, went out the door, got in the car, and drove off at breakneck speed. His car was right behind me, and in an attempt to force me to stop, he drove right in front of me just as I was about to hit him. He almost flipped the whole car, my hands trembling. I pulled over. The moment I saw him get out of the car unharmed, I collapsed against the car. He rushed over and held me tightly in his arms. He explained to me, "After all, I'm the one who brought her here, so I have a duty to ensure her safety." He took out a ring and slipped it onto my finger. I was planning to close this deal, go home, and propose to you. I was even going to set up a grand surprise for you, but now I'll have to give up on surprising you. But later, because of a phone call from Su Mengyuan, he left me standing alone on the street. On the phone, Su Mengyuan said to him in a panic, "Mr. Jiang, I think someone's following me. I'm really scared. Could it be that Mr. Zhao, whom I offended the other day, has sent someone after me?" Before she could finish speaking, the call was disconnected. Jiang Bei told me he had something to do and told me to go back to the hotel on my own. As he got into his car, he left me with a cloud of exhaust fumes. The next moment, I received a text message. Su Mengyuan sent a screenshot of the ring and informed a customer. The ring was lost, so I'm sorry to say I've replaced it with a necklace. She told me that a customer had ordered this ring 6 months ago. It turns out that when he said he was going back to propose, it was all a lie, just an excuse to comfort me on the spot. No wonder the wedding kept getting postponed. I asked her, "Didn't you say you were in danger?" She replied, "Jiang Beiji has already come to rescue me, hasn't he? Are you really going to use the fact that you've been with him for 6 years as an excuse to hold him back?" I was just testing him. When he held me, I could hear his heart pounding, and it wasn't just that one time. He's fallen for me. He said that after 6 years. He's long since grown tired of you. I'll send you the details little by little. I'll never have the chance to reply to that message. Someone covered my mouth and dragged me into an alley. 2 foreigners told me to hand over everything of value I had on me. After I gave it to them, they looked at me with a lecherous expression. He started groping me. In the midst of my struggle and confusion, I reached for my phone, which had fallen to the ground, and pressed the emergency button. I don't know who I called, but the moment the call connected, I heard Jiang Bei's impatient voice. "She's just my assistant. In a foreign country like this, it's dangerous to suspect that someone is following her. You're crushing me so hard I can't breathe. Let's just get married when we get back." "Okay." He hung up on me. I won't have another chance to make that call. One of them covered my mouth, while the other started undressing me. I bit into the palm of his hand and kicked one of them in the groin. They were enraged and shouted, "Bitch!" A small knife slashed my throat, and blood gushed out. I died at the corner of a street in a foreign land. I've been reborn 6 years in the past. This time, I no longer want to marry him. Looking at his smiling eyes, I felt no flutter of excitement whatsoever. I stared at him coldly. "This time, even if it kills me, I won't let you win the match." Upon hearing my words, Jiang Beiji froze, a look of astonishment on his face. The commotion that had been going on around them suddenly fell silent. I pulled my helmet down over my eyes and stared intently ahead, with only one thought on my mind. Now that I've won this championship, I can't go back to being with him. As soon as the gunshot rang out, I shot off on my motorcycle like an arrow, while Jiang Beiji's car stayed right on my tail to my left. The car soon reached the turn, because the passage was so narrow that only one person could pass through at a time. My past self had feelings for him. In the end, I just couldn't bring myself to compete with him there. This time, I accelerated without hesitation. I heard the people around me saying I was risking my life. Accelerating on such a dangerous curve, it seems I've been utterly heartless toward Jiang Beiji. Thanks to that move, I took a commanding lead, while Jiang Beiji, forced to slow down, spun off the track. Before long, I reached the finish line. Jiang Beiji got to his feet. The car was a total loss. He clutched his injured shoulder and looked at me. I calmly gave him the middle finger, turned around with the trophy in hand, and walked away without looking back. He limped over to me, looking a little panicked, and took my hand. Do you really hate me that much, so much that you'd even speed up on such a dangerous curve just to cut ties with me? It shouldn't be like this. We're meant to be together. I gave a sarcastic smile and ruthlessly shook off his hand. Who do you think you are? Just because you're chasing after me doesn't mean I have to say yes. You lost this round. So stop bothering me. You're annoying. Jiang Beiji looked embarrassed. He was a privileged young master from Beijing's elite circles. The first time I've ever humbled myself to pursue someone. Back then, although I hadn't accepted his advances, I had never spoken to him in such a hurtful way, especially in front of so many people. He flew into a rage. You Xiaowei, you'll regret this. I pushed him away with a soft laugh, said, never, walked around him, and rode off on my bike. Heading up the mountain path, I look back on everything that has happened. If there's one thing I regret most, it's probably that I ever got involved with you. You couldn't even make it past the 7-year itch. And you've already set your sights on another woman. I first met Jiang Beiji at a banquet. I act wild and reckless, just to embarrass my father. At his birthday party, he swapped the luxury watch his stepmother had intended to give him for a pair of green-tinted sunglasses. I smiled at him. Dad, that hat really suits you. You betrayed Mom back then, and now you've been betrayed by another woman. You got what you deserved. My father's face turned livid, and he raised the teacup in his hand and smashed it mercilessly against my head, with blood streaming down my face. I smiled at him and told him there was a big surprise waiting for him. The stepmother is considered a veteran film star, but she got all her opportunities by sleeping her way to the top. I played all the videos right there at the birthday party. There are way too many men. My dad's face was greener than the green hat I gave him. My stepmother, her face twisted with rage, was about to slap me across the face, so I slapped her right back without holding back. It was this woman who destroyed my once happy family. She was the one who seduced my father into divorcing my mother. She even had the nerve to send their intimate videos to my mom, mocking her for being past her prime and unable to keep a man. So what if we grew up together? My dad says my mom is really boring. He's long since grown tired of it. Finally, she sent over an ultrasound image showing she was pregnant. My dad filed for divorce from my mom, even going so far as to transfer a 35% stake in the company to her. It drove my mother to a relapse of postpartum depression, and she jumped from the upper floor and died. Before long, my dad married that woman, and she would put on a show of being nice to me. Eventually, his true colors showed, and he tormented me time and again, pinching my private parts until they were covered in bruises. She deliberately didn't save me any food, and now karma has caught up with her. At a dinner party, another actress jostled her for a seat, causing her to fall. She lost the baby and will never be able to conceive again. But my dad started seeing other women again, maybe because his health had taken a toll over the years. None of them got pregnant. Now that I'm 18, I've inherited my mom's shares in the company. I own 35%, so I don't have to go easy on him anymore. He yelled at me to get lost. If it weren't for the need to smoothly inherit my shares, I would have left this family long ago. I turned and walked away, while my stepmother, holding a knife, went berserk and actually tried to kill me right there in front of everyone. Looks like this really has driven him crazy. It was Jiang Beiji who kicked his stepmother to the ground and pulled me into his arms. The stepmother was pinned to the ground by a security guard at the banquet. He actually dared to commit such a violent act in front of so many people. Looks like she's in for a long haul. I looked up and met his amber eyes, which were fixed on me with interest. It was like coming across a fascinating and rare find. I thought this was going to be a really boring birthday party, but I didn't expect to meet such an interesting person. What's your name? He was strikingly handsome, with an innate air of nobility. And he saved Meso even though I was a rebellious teenager. I still responded to him. Yu Xiaowei. A summer breeze stirs the heart. You really are a womanizer. If he really is a womanizer, he should make you pledge your love to him. Too bad I'm not interested in men. Me dad is a perfect example. Jiangbei, I remember that name. It's going to be your future boyfriend's name. After that, he transferred to my school, knowing that I was interested in racing. So I took up racing, and one time when I crashed, his friend Zhang Zhe asked me to come see him. He lay in bed with his hand bandaged, blaming the man for telling me. I was planning to wait until he learned it, so he could show off in front of me. That was the first time I ever fell in love. In the past, whenever I played with cars, people would just say it was a dangerous hobby and tell me to stay away from it. He was the first one who wanted to hang out with me. He got into a fight with another guy in our class who had been trying to date me but didn't succeed. All for my sake. Since that man couldn't catch up to me, he started hurling insults at me, saying, "You were born but not raised. What are you trying to act so high and mighty for?" Jiang Beiji showed up the very next day with a bruise on the corner of his mouth. Zhang Zhe told me he got into a fight with the guy who insulted me and knocked out his teeth. He didn't dare to speak out of turn anymore. After that, I never saw him again. He transferred to another school. He confessed his feelings to me on the flag-raising platform. Even though he was punished by having to write a self-criticism, he would hold up his self-criticism in front of me as if to take credit for it, saying it was proof of his love for me. Whenever a girl confesses her feelings to him, he tells her without hesitation that there's someone he likes named Yu Xiaowei. He was willing to walk halfway across town on a snowy night just to find a stall selling roasted sweet potatoes. I held it close to my heart. When I gave it to you, it was still warm. He would ask me over and over again, "Did you fall for me today? Can I be your boyfriend?" It's common knowledge that A from Jiangbei is pursuing Yu Xiaowei loves me so openly. In the days that followed, he showered me with countless acts of kindness. Faced with his relentless pursuit, it's hard not to be moved. It was only later that she made a bet with him. If he won the race, she would go out with him. I deliberately let him win out of kindness, but that gave him the chance to hurt me. I met Su Mengyuan 5 years earlier than in my previous life. She became a classmate of mine. She was admitted on a special basis because her grades were exceptionally good. She walked into the classroom wearing simple clothes. As she introduced herself on stage with poise and confidence, the moment our eyes met, a flash of hatred and intense resentment crossed her face. Logically speaking, we shouldn't know each other, unless she's also been reborn. When she went to see Jiang Beiji, I couldn't help but take a second look. This gave Jiang Beiji the false impression that I was jealous. So he made a point of being especially kind to her. He would occasionally bring her breakfast, something that used to be my special privilege. I'll take the water she hands me on the court, smile and respond to her. You could even invite him to sit next to you and tell him to feel free to ask if there's anything he doesn't understand. He was trying to tell me not to let success go to my head, that I'm not special. There was a time when I used to get so jealous over things like this that I'd lose control. When Su Mengyuan first joined the company, I used to bring him dinner, worried that he'd get so busy he'd forget to eat and his stomach problems would flare up. I saw him personally coaching Su Mengyuan in a friendly manner. The two of them were standing very close together. Su Mengyuan would look at him with a bewildered and helpless expression. Seeing her look, he would smile fondly and say, "Why are you so clueless?" Then explain it to her all over again. At that moment, my eyes were stinging with tears. It had been a long time since he'd looked at me that way, and he had once said that he would only mentor me. I asked him in an icy tone, "What are you doing?" He then fixed Su Mengyuan with a piercing glare. "The company hired you to work, not to seduce your boss." Su Mengyuan looked embarrassed, her eyes brimming with tears. "Please don't get the wrong idea, Mr. Jiang. I just have a few questions I'd like to ask. If you don't believe me, you can check my computer. We're working on a PowerPoint presentation right now. It's just a PowerPoint presentation. Does the CEO really need to be here teaching her himself?" He looked at me with an utterly cold expression, then coldly told me to stop messing around. Everyone else had already left for the day. and we needed this report by tomorrow. If she can't handle the job, there's no point in the company keeping her on. Su Mengyuan burst into tears. She begged me not to let her lose her job, saying she didn't know what her father might do otherwise. He said, "You Xiaowei, do you really have to be so aggressive?" He pulled me along. That night, we had our first argument over Su Mengyuan. I said that a woman's intuition told me she had ulterior motives. He said I was being overly suspicious. But in the end, he gave in. He said he would have his secretary mentor her in the future, insisting that he was really just teaching her about work-related matters. He also showed me the surveillance footage. But now, when I look at it again, it feels strangely calm. I calmly looked away, closed the book, and walked out. I heard the sound of a table being kicked over behind me, and Jiang Beiji shouted angrily at Su Mengyuan, "Get out! Don't fucking bother me. Don't go asking the teacher. I'm not obligated to teach you. You weren't admitted through special recruitment. And you can't even solve such a simple problem. What the hell are you playing at? Look how easily he can see. No, it's just a little trick to get closer. So how is it that, after 6 years of experience, I've actually gotten dumber?" Su Mengyuan followed me into the restroom. She looked at me and smiled. "Hello. You Xiaowei." I didn't want to deal with her and was about to walk out, but she reached out and blocked my way. "Don't pretend you don't know me. The first time I looked at you, it wasn't as if I were looking at a stranger. You're back, too, you Xiaowei. You couldn't beat me in your last life, and it'll be the same this time. You'll watch as he leaves you behind once again." She began telling me how, in a past life, Jiang Beiji had chosen her time and time again, while abandoning me, on Valentine's Day. She called to say her father had physically abused her again. He immediately drove over to her house himself, gave her father a stern talking to, and handed him some money, telling him to sign the contract and promising never to bother her again. No wonder took a phone call that day and left in a hurry. And when he came back, his fist was injured. He told me that something had gone wrong with a project, and in a fit of anger, he lashed out. On our 6th anniversary, she called him and said it was pitch black outside and there was thunder, and she was really scared her father used to hit her on rainy nights. She had a fever, so he rushed over immediately to be with her. That time, he hurriedly gave me a necklace, kissed me, and said he was sorry he couldn't be with me for our 6th anniversary. He told me his mother was sick, and when I offered to go with him to see her, he asked me not to go just yet. His mother has always had a bias against me, thinking I was capable of doing something so outrageous at my father's birthday party. I'm too wild and untamed to be a suitable match for the Jiang family. They need a wife who's obedient enough. Because I love him. I put up with his mother's snide remarks time and time again, so I thought he told me not to go because he was afraid it would make his mother's condition worse. I sat alone facing a table full of carefully prepared, cold food, wondering how I could get his mother to truly accept me, while he was hugging another woman and whispering words of comfort to her. To think he's betrayed me so many times that he could pour all his former affection unreservedly into another woman, and while claiming to love me, shower another woman with such care. It really is utterly disgusting. She spoke with a smug smile on her face, trying to catch a glimpse of sadness or anger on mine. Even though I've been through this before, knowing how much deception there was still instinctively pierced my heart. I rubbed my palms together slowly and deliberately, doing my best to keep a straight face. Not everyone will always treat trash like a treasure. If you like that kind of trash, go ahead and lock it down. Too bad he doesn't seem interested in you right now. But Su Mengyuan suddenly collapsed to the ground as if she had lost her mind, slapping herself across the face several times until her cheeks turned red, leaving her school uniform filthy and her hair disheveled. She glared at me with a vicious grin. "You Xiaowei, if you bully me at school out of jealousy, what will people outside say? You don't exactly have a good reputation anyway, so no one will believe you. You're destined to be my underdog." I just watched her behavior with a detached eye. Even after being reborn, her mind hadn't cleared up. If anything, she'd become even more foolish. It's simply not worth going to such lengths for a man like that. The news that I bullied Su Mengyuan has caused quite a stir at school. On the school forum, people are calling me a hypocrite, saying one thing and doing another. On the one hand, she won't accept Jiang Beiji's advances. On the other hand, whenever another girl gets close to him, she steps in to deal with her. School officials also called me in for a talk because Su Mengyuan had been admitted on the strength of her excellent grades. And the school was concerned that an unpleasant incident like school bullying might be exposed to the media. But because of my family background, these voices only dared to speak behind my back. The teacher only made a few indirect remarks. In North City, there is hardly a single family that would dare to openly offend the Yu family. That was until a media outlet exposed my actions. In the photos where Su Mengyuan's face was pixelated, she was shown with bruises on her arms, lower back, and legs. She was seen crying her eyes out, begging for help, saying that her abuser was powerful and influential, and that she had nowhere else to turn. Right after that, some people who had long harbored a grudge against me behind the scenes came forward to make similar allegations. They made up some baseless accusations, claiming this wasn't the first time I'd bullied someone, and produced a photo of me hitting someone. They say I race cars for fun, don't care about people's lives, and deliberately ran someone over with my car, leaving them disabled so I'll never be able to race again. They even dug up the incident where I forced my stepmother to attack me with a knife, claiming I was so rebellious that even my parents, unable to control me, were so enraged they tried to stab me. It garnered a huge amount of attention online, and my personal information was exposed. In the comments section, people shared their harrowing experiences of school bullying. It's because of people like that that I've been left with a lifelong psychological trauma. I hardly ever go out to see people anymore, and I suffer from severe self-doubt. Does having money mean you can do whatever you want? The relevant authorities need to take action immediately. A scoundrel like that should be barred from ever studying again, and her record should be noted. I became the target of everyone's criticism. Everyone was calling for me to be expelled from school. At school, the way people looked at me was filled with suspicion and disgust. After that happened, Jiang Bei came to see me. He didn't care whether I had actually bullied Su Mengyuan. At first, he was happy that I had picked on Su Mengyuan for his sake. He clasped my hands tightly and asked me if I cared about him. That's not true. I never laid a hand on her. He paused for a moment, looking at me as if I were a savior. Xiao Wei. This has already blown up into a huge scandal. Even if you say it's fake, no one will believe you. I can help you suppress all the news as long as you just apologize to me. Impossible. I just replied coldly with 3 words. Jiang Bei Zhixiang seemed stunned by my attitude. A faint blush spread to the corners of his eyes, and a look of hurt appeared on his face. I've been so good to you, even a stone would have warmed up by now. You Xiaowei, you have no heart. Why can't you just give it a try? There's no need, because I've already tried it. I got completely crushed. As the years have gone by, his love for me has grown weaker, while my love for him has grown stronger. He looked at me as if I were a precious treasure, cradled me in his arms, and told me how much he wished I would reach the legal age for marriage sooner, so he could marry me and have me all to himself forever. But when the time actually came for him to marry me, he stopped talking about it altogether. Even my father, with whom I have such a distant relationship, would ask, "When are you two getting married?" But all he ever says is, "Let's wait a little longer." The once brash and outspoken me became sensitive, choosing to back down time and again, and ended up becoming the very person I despised most. I feel so small I hardly recognize myself. Running away from the irreparable cracks in this relationship, watching him try so hard to make things right, I kept making excuses for him in my mind. He'll change. After all, he used to love me so much, clinging to those sweet memories of the past. I softened my heart and forgave him time and time again, even though there had long been plenty of signs of his infidelity. I chose to turn a blind eye. In the end, I lost 6 years of my life in my very life. There's no need to keep making the same mistake. He looked at me with deep affection. I won't give up just like that. Just as Su Mengyuan was gloating that she could finally have me expelled from school, I invite all members of the media to come to the school. I am willing to be interviewed in person. I invited the people involved in the incident to explain things themselves except for my stepmother. Of course, since she's still in jail, in that photo of the altercation, the other person started it and demanded money from me. I was just defending myself when I kicked him to the ground. The person involved has come forward to clarify the situation. At the time, the young man's grandmother had fallen ill, so I lent him some money. He also realized that he shouldn't have engaged in extortion. Since his release from re-education through labor, he has turned over a new leaf. He's currently working as a security guard at the U residence. I gave him the job and saved his grandmother. So he's very grateful to me. The race car driver who was rumored to have been injured came forward personally to clarify that his car had malfunctioned at the time. I almost drove off the road. There was a cliff on the other side and I was just trying to flag down a car. If it hadn't been for M.E., he might not just have been crippled, he might have died. I didn't play the video of my stepmom again after all. We're all students, and it's not suitable for children. I just posted the apology letter my stepmother sent me, in which she describes how she used to abuse me. Admits she was in the wrong, and says she deserved to go to prison. The reason she wrote this letter was to ask me to write her a letter of forgiveness. Of course I didn't write it. Seeing that I had cleared up all these issues, the reporter quickly held the microphone out in front of me and asked, even if the other allegations are just rumors spread by netizens, the bullying incident at your school is true, isn't it? The victim also attends your school. If it were false, wouldn't you have asked her to come forward and clarify the situation, just as you did with those other people? At that moment, Su Mengyuan was standing not far away, staring at me, her eyes brimming with resentment. I pointed in her direction. She's standing right over there. Why don't you go ask her yourself? How could Su Mengyuan pass up such a performance opportunity? Her eyes immediately welled up with tears. I don't know what I did wrong. I just asked Jiang a question. Is it because I'm poor that I deserve to be looked down on? You Xiaowei. If you bully me at school out of jealousy, what will people outside think? You don't exactly have a good reputation anyway, so no one will believe you. You're bound to be the one who ends up on the losing end. I tapped the recording on my phone and played back what she had said to me alone in the bathroom. There are no security cameras in the bathroom, so she must have inflicted those injuries on herself later on. She never imagined I would record it. She doesn't realize that when I was 18, I was already able to get my hands on a video of my stepmom. That day, while she was following me, I had already secretly turned on my phone and recorded our conversation. The reason I didn't set the record straight at first was simply to see how far she would go. The more she makes a fuss about it, the more embarrassing it will be for her in the end. She stood there in shock, tears streaming down her face. While Su Mengyuan was still in a state of shock, a man suddenly burst through the crowd, wearing a tattered plaid shirt and with hands covered in cracks. He slapped her hard across the face. You ungrateful daughter, where have you been all these years? You left me to fend for myself. The moment she saw him, her eyes filled with sheer terror, and she trembled as she called out, Dad. So this is the father who has been abusing her all along. I'll beat you to death. Your mother ran off with some other guy when you were 3. You're just as cheap as she was. So you think you can run off too? You think just because you got into a good college, you can do without a father like me? As he spoke, the man sat down on the ground and wept bitterly, recounting how difficult it had been for him to raise his daughter alone all these years, and how she no longer kept in touch with her father. When the media saw this, instead of stepping in to help, they swarmed like vultures on carrion, snapping photos non-stop. Just moments ago, Su Mengyuan had been performing under the spotlight, but now she was frantically slapping at the camera and screaming at them to stop filming. The man reached out to take Su Mengyuan by the hand, intending to take her home. He told her that her grandmother was so worried about her she was now bedridden, and insisted that she must go back. Su Mengyuan broke free from his grip, took my hand, and, in full view of everyone, knelt down before me, still holding my hand. Please help me. I won't argue with you anymore. I can't go back. I looked down at her from above and asked her calmly. The day you personally recorded that video accusing me of bullying you, shouldn't you have realized that I'm no saint? Why should I repay your wrongs with kindness? She lost it, got up from the floor, and tried to hit me, but Jiang Beiji kicked her back down. She could no longer hold back and let out a series of wails. Why did this happen? I just wanted to be with you sooner. You told me you'd already grown tired of her. You said that if we'd met sooner, you would have chosen me. Jiangbei knew that those eyes, though full of emotion, were staring at her with utter coldness as he uttered the words. Mad woman. I looked at her with sadness. I don't hate her, because even without her, there would be Zhao Mengyuan and Zhou Mengyuan in the days to come. She just happened to be there at that moment. She thought she was special to Jiang Beiji, not realizing that she simply hadn't won his heart yet. It is only now that I am the one who holds a special place in his heart. How can a woman who actively pursues him compare to one he loves but cannot have? Heaven gave her a chance to start over. But she chose to come back to this jerk even sooner. Her father dragged her out of the school grounds, with the photographers still hot on their heels. Jiang Beiji looked at me and told me that he had tracked down Su Mingyuan's father so that she would never be able to show up in front of me again and would never be able to bother me again. I looked at him mockingly. You're really despicable. You were the one who instructed that media outlet to break the story, weren't you? After all, apart from him, who else in North City would dare to cross the Yu family? He pressed his lips tightly together and stared at me, saying nothing. After a long silence, he said, I just want you to rely on me and give in to me. What's so bad about being with me? I'll protect you, cherish you, and love you. You're absolutely disgusting. Get out of my life. You throw me into the storm, yet try to be my guardian angel. Perhaps he never loved me at all. He just wanted to see the thorny rose growing in the wilderness yield to him, willingly letting him pluck away all its thorns, and relish that sense of triumphant conquest. His face twisted in a spasm of utter embarrassment. His knuckles, clenched tightly, were bloodless, and his complexion turned pale as well. Tears welled up in his eyes, and his voice trembled as he asked, What on earth must I do for you to love me? He was no longer the aloof Jiang Beiji. At that moment, he seemed so humble it was almost unrecognizable. I've never begged anyone so pitifully before. His love right now is genuine, but his fickleness after he changed his mind is truly sickening. I replied sarcastically, Then go ahead and die. Maybe I'll regret it so much that I'll turn your funeral into a scene straight out of a romance novel, clutching your ashes and crying about just how much I love you. After saying that, I pushed him aside and walked away without looking back. I applied to be an exchange student because I really didn't want to keep getting entangled with Jiang Beiji any longer. On the day my application was approved, I was kidnapped. I woke up in a desolate residential area and saw Jiang Beiji, who had become emaciated after just a few days apart. He no longer had the air of the carefree, debonair young man he once seemed to be. The more I looked at it, the more repulsive it seemed. I stared at him with a cold gaze, my eyes filled with a hatred I had never felt before. He raised his hand to stroke my eyes, his voice thick with emotion and a hint of a choked-up tone. Xiao Wei. Don't look at me like that, it breaks my heart. I lost my temper too and asked him hysterically, Why are you hounding me? Wasn't I clear enough? I just don't want to see you anymore. He kept popping up around me like a ghost. It reminds me of those past events I once loathed. Yet I am the only one who remembers them. I hate him. I resent him for having shown me such unique favoritism, left me behind again. But after going through all that, my hatred for him has all but faded, leaving only disgust. I just don't want to dwell on it anymore. I want to start a new life. Are you leaving Beijing? Yes. It's because of me. Yes. A look of pain and resentment flashed across his eyes. Xiao Wei. I've been having recurring dreams lately about us being together. It's been 6 years we were so close to getting married. But when I wake up, I realize it was just a dream. Yet if it was a dream, why did it feel so real? Really? He looked up at me with joy in his eyes. But soon his eyes were filled with panic. If he really did see events from his past life, it wouldn't all be sweet and pleasant. You'll see that he's changed his mind. I've seen him cheat on me time and time again for another woman. You'd see my body lying in the street, and what would he be doing at that moment? Rushing off to comfort another woman who'd been frightened. He lowered his gaze and murmured, "It's all true." But I clearly saw that Su Mengyuan didn't have the slightest interest in her. I just wanted to use her to get under your skin. There's no way I'd ever change my heart for her. Those memories came flooding back. He saw what had happened. And yet he still had the nerve to kidnap me. I gritted my teeth and said to him, "Because you're a piece of trash. Go ahead and yell at Mail all you want as long as you don't leave me." Jiang Beiji reached out and pulled me tightly into his arms. And I opened my mouth and bit down hard on his shoulder. How dare heck, knowing all the despicable things he's done, still have the nerve to come after me. A chunk of flesh was nearly torn from his hand. Yet he still refused to let go. Scalding tears kept falling onto my neck. "You're the only one I've ever loved. My involvement with her was just a momentary lapse. I never intended to leave you. I genuinely wanted to propose to you." I don't know what came over me back then. It was as if I'd lost my mind. Whenever she called, I couldn't help but leave you behind to go see her. I truly feel guilty about it. I spat out a mouthful of blood, each word cutting like a knife. "What's the point of telling me all this? Jiang Beiji, you're not even as good as my dad. You're even more disgusting than he is. At least he was brazenly despicable, while you only dared to act in secret, like a rat in the sewers. After doing such filthy things, you still try to fool yourself by claiming to love me. Your so-called deep affection is worth less than a blade of grass." He said he would never let me become like my mom. He knew full well that betrayal was what I hated most. If he had broken up with me the moment he lost interest, at least I wouldn't have wasted so much time. His eyes were red and streaked with tears, and he clung tightly to my shoulders. "I just made a mistake that any man might make. But this time I didn't. When I found out you had died in your previous life, I was devastated. I drank myself into a stupor every day. And my company went under. I have stomach cancer. I'll be joining you in just a year. As for Su Mengyuan, she was never the one I loved. We still have a chance to start over. This time, I promise I won't betray you. I love you, I really do. Can you please stop torturing me like this? Please don't leave me." He paused, took a diamond ring out of his pocket, and knelt down in front of me. "Xiao Wei, I mined this diamond myself, and I designed the Paterna rose. From the moment I first laid eyes on you, you were like a blooming rose with thorns. And you captivated me completely. You are my one vacant blue diamond. In my past life, I wanted to get married. But the ring he used to propose with was just something he'd bought to give to a client, was just fobbing me off. Jiang Bei, there's no chance to start over." I heard sirens wailing outside. As he was pinned to the ground by the officers who had rushed in, the priceless ring fell to the floor. I didn't look back. Ever since someone slit my throat in my previous life, I've had an alarm and tracking system installed on my phone. I'm just worried that something unexpected might happen again. While he was hysterically arguing with me just now, I had already pressed the emergency button to call the police. As expected, when something happens, you really do have to call the police. He tried to resist, but was immediately kicked and handcuffed. I've been released. Jiang Beiji, you'll never have another chance to bother me. I looked at him and silently said, "Goodbye." I heard news about Jiang Beiji again 2 months after I became an exchange student in Country F. I got a call from a former classmate. They say Jiang Beiji has multiple organ failure and doesn't have long to live. The reason was that Su Mengyuan stabbed him several times with a knife. After Su Mengyuan was taken back by her father, it wasn't to visit her grandmother. Her father accepted a dowry of 66,000 yuan from a villager and sold her to a bachelor in his 50s who lived in the village. The old bachelor was a violent man who would often beat Su Mengyuan to a pulp. And then there are the kinks. Wherever she went, people mocked her. So what if she got into a prestigious university? It's no use. Ash still ended up marrying an old bachelor. She finally managed to run out and waited at the police station entrance, hoping Jiang Beiji would help her and save her. Jiang Beiji went to great lengths to secure his release on bail pending trial. Seeing Su Mengyuan on his first day out of prison, he was thoroughly fed up. This is a police station. If you have a problem, go see the police. Su Mengyuan said that the police couldn't do anything about family matters, and everyone in the family sided with that old bachelor. They said she was being unreasonable, and when she got home, an even worse beating awaited her. Little did she know that Jiang Bei wouldn't help her. Instead, he told her that he was the one who had brought her father there and told her to get as far away as possible. Su Mengyuan lost control of her emotions for a moment and lunged at Jiang Beiji with the knife she was carrying. He kept babbling nonsense as he stabbed. She said she had loved him so deeply in their past life, and though he had clearly been moved by her, after that vile woman died, he still sent her back to her father. Her father resented her for becoming successful, so he stopped caring about her and even had someone teach her a lesson. As soon as she got home, he beat her even more brutally. One winter night, he beat her half to death and then threw her out of the room. She froze to death. She thought that if she had met him sooner, he would have loved her more deeply, and she would have been able to leave her past life behind. But he ruined her life all over again, making her life even more miserable. He deserves to die. In the end, Su Mengyuan was found to have committed the assault while mentally incompetent. She was not sentenced to prison but was sent to a psychiatric hospital for treatment. "That's too bad," I said, and calmly hung up the phone. I pulled my helmet down and rode my motorcycle along the mountain road, with the summer breeze blowing. Yu Xiaowei. Reborn from the ashes. Your long and wonderful life has only just begun, and it holds endless possibilities. Go for it.